Look, choosing between a high-end iPad and a Samsung tablet is tougher than ever. But in 2025, one of these devices has a flaw that is just critical. We've been putting the new M3 iPad Air and what we expect to be the Galaxy Tab S10 Plus through some pretty brutal, real-world tests. And honestly, one of them failed so spectacularly in a key area that I just can't recommend it to a huge number of people. By the end of this, you'll know which tablet is the one to get, and which one you should probably avoid. Introduction. Alright, let's try to settle this. For years, if you wanted a premium tablet, it was a two-horse race. Apple's iPad or Samsung's Galaxy Tab. In one corner, you've got the brand new Apple iPad Air, which is now packing the frankly ridiculous M3 processor. It's the classic Apple approach, powerful, simple, and incredibly focused. And in the other corner, we have the upcoming Samsung Galaxy Tab S10 Plus. Based on its predecessors, this is the tablet that promises to do everything: your Netflix machine, your digital canvas, and maybe even your laptop. Both of these tablets cost a serious chunk of change, and they both claim they can be the one device you need for work, creativity, and play. But claims don't mean much. So we put together a gauntlet of head-to-head challenges to see what it takes to make these things sweat. We're talking everything from intense gaming and pro-level digital art to the kind of multitasking that would make a laptop nervous. One of these is getting crowned the king. Let's get into it. Round 1. The display smackdown. First impressions are everything, and the first thing you see is the screen. This is where the differences become obvious, fast. The iPad Air comes with Apple's Liquid Retina display. It's an LCD, and don't get me wrong, it's a very good one. It's sharp, colors look natural, and it gets plenty bright. But here's the catch: it's a 60 Hz display. In 2025, on a tablet this expensive, that just feels out of date. When you're scrolling a website or just swiping around your home screen, you can't help but notice a little bit of judder compared to more modern screens. Then you pick up the Galaxy Tab S10 Plus. Now, Samsung is equipping its flagships with a dynamic AMOLED 2X display, and we expect the S10 Plus to follow suit with a gorgeous 12.4-inch panel. The name is a mouthful, but the screen is just breathtaking. Colors don't just look good, they feel alive. Blacks are actually black, not just a dim gray, which makes everything you look at pop with contrast. And here's the kicker: it has a 120 Hz adaptive refresh rate. This makes every single thing you do, from binging a show to just swiping through the UI, feel buttery smooth. For just watching stuff, it's not even a contest. The richer colors and fluid motion on the Samsung are things you will notice every single day. The shape of the screen matters, too. The iPad's boxier 4:3 ratio is actually great for reading or browsing the web vertically. It feels more like a magazine. But the Samsung's wider 16:10 ratio is way better for movies, giving you smaller black bars and a more immersive feel. For this first round, the winner is crystal clear. The Samsung Galaxy Tab S10 Plus takes it, easily. That 120 Hz AMOLED display is playing in a completely different league for entertainment. Round 2. The gaming gauntlet. A great screen is nice, but you need the engine to power it. Modern games are no joke, so let's throw these tablets into the gaming gauntlet. First up is Genshin Impact, a game that is notorious for punishing hardware. On paper, this is where the iPad Air's M3 chip should dominate. And for raw power, it does. With the graphics cranked to the max, the iPad holds a more consistent 60 frames per second. You can feel that M3 chip just working, delivering a super solid, high-fidelity experience. Over on the Galaxy Tab S10 Plus, likely powered by the latest top-of-the-line Snapdragon chip, the performance is also fantastic, but in a different way. The frame rate might dip a little more in the craziest moments, but because of the 120 Hz screen, the game can actually target higher frame rates. When it hits them, the motion just feels smoother. The real difference shows up after about 20 minutes of playing. Both tablets get warm, but the iPad Air just feels a bit more stable under a long, heavy gaming session. Apple's chips are known for their efficiency, and it shows here. So, for the hardcore gamer who needs the most consistent, maxed-out frame rates possible, the iPad Air has a slight advantage in raw power. But then we fired up a fast-paced shooter like Call of Duty Mobile. This is where that high refresh rate on the Samsung screen makes a huge difference. Snapping your aim around and tracking enemies just feels more responsive on the 120Hz panel. It's a classic trade-off, the iPad's raw horsepower versus the Samsung's smooth moves. This round is incredibly close. The iPad is the more powerful gaming machine if you look at benchmarks, but the Galaxy Tab gives you a smoother visual experience in games that can use it, which a lot of competitive players want. Let's call this one a draw. The winner really depends on the kind of games you play. Round 3. The Creative Crucible. Alright, what about for actually making things? For artists, designers, and students, the stylus is everything. This has always been Apple's turf, and for good reason. The iPad Air paired with the new Apple Pencil Pro is a powerhouse. Drawing in Procreate, an app you can only get on iPad, feels unbelievably natural. There's basically zero lag, and the pressure and tilt control are the best in the business. The pencil itself just feels like a premium, well-built tool. The only downside? The Apple Pencil is another expensive purchase. Samsung, on the other hand, gives you its excellent S Pen right in the box. That's a massive plus for value. The S Pen is also super responsive, and it uses Wacom tech with a softer, rubberized tip. This gives it a little bit of drag on the glass screen, which some artists actually like because it feels less like skating on ice. And while Android's creative app library has gotten much better, with great apps like Clip Studio Paint on both platforms, the iPad still wins on the sheer number of pro-level, optimized creative apps. There's a reason apps like Procreate and Affinity Designer are industry standards, and they're only on the iPad. For just taking notes, they're both amazing. But if you're a professional artist or designer, that software ecosystem gives Apple the win. Even with the incredible value of getting the S Pen for free, the specialized apps available only on iPad OS mean the iPad Air is still the better tool for the job. This round goes to the iPad. Mid-roll CTA. Hey, if you're finding this useful and want to see more tech showdowns like this one, do me a solid and hit that subscribe button. It's free, and it really helps the channel out. Okay, let's get to the most important round. Round 4. The multitasking marathon and the spectacular failure. This is it. This is the round that separates the media players from the actual work tools. A great tablet in 2025 has to do more than just play videos, it has to be a productivity machine. And this is where one of these devices just completely falls on its face. Let's start with the iPad Air. Apple's answer to multitasking is Stage Manager. It lets you have a few overlapping, resizable windows. It's a huge step up from the old split screen, but it's still so limited. You can only have 4 apps on screen at once, the OS is super opinionated about where you can put things, and just managing files between apps and an external drive still feels like a hassle. Now, let's look at the Galaxy Tab S10 Plus. With one tap, you switch on Samsung DeX. This isn't just an app launcher. It changes the entire interface into something that looks and feels like a desktop. You get a taskbar, windows you can freely move and resize however you want, and file management that just works like it does on your PC. You can have 10 apps open, drag a photo from one window and drop it right into another, and connect it to a monitor for a real dual-screen setup. This is where we found that spectacular failure I mentioned. We tried to do a normal, moderately heavy workflow on both. A web browser with a bunch of research tabs, a document for this script, a file manager pulling from a USB-C drive, and a chat app open. On the Galaxy Tab with DeX, it was a breeze. We set up our windows exactly how we wanted, dragged files around without a second thought, and kept our chat open off to the side. It felt like using a good laptop. Then we tried the same thing on the iPad Air. It was an exercise in absolute frustration. Stage Manager fought us on everything. Windows would resize and snap to places we didn't want them. Trying to get a file from the USB drive into our document was a needlessly complicated mess. The M3 chip was just sitting there, with all the power in the world, completely crippled by an operating system that refuses to let you work the way you want to. This isn't a small problem. This is a critical failure. The iPad Air has the hardware to be a pro machine, but its software prevents it from being a true productivity tool. For anyone who needs to juggle a few apps and files to get work done, the iPad isn't just a little worse, its entire approach feels broken. This round is a knockout victory for the Samsung Galaxy Tab S10 Plus. The verdict: so, after all of that, where do we land? Let's recap. The Galaxy Tab S10 Plus won on display with that stunning 120Hz AMOLED screen. Gaming was a draw, with the iPad having more power but the Samsung having smoother motion. The creative round went to the iPad, thanks to its unbeatable app library for artists. And the final, all-important productivity round was a complete and total victory for Samsung DeX. This brings us back to the hook. That multitasking failure on the iPad Air is so massive that for most people, I just can't recommend it. It's a device with the engine of a supercar that's been artificially locked into first gear. For that reason, the undisputed king of tablets in 2025 is the Samsung Galaxy Tab S10 Plus. It's the most versatile and complete tablet you can buy. It's incredible for entertainment, it's a great gaming device, a solid creative tool, and it's a legitimate laptop replacement for getting real work done. It will also likely have features the iPad doesn't, like IP68 water resistance and expandable storage, things Samsung has consistently included. When you remember that the S Pen is included for free, the value is just undeniable. So, is there anyone who should still get the iPad Air? Sure. If you're a professional digital artist who lives in Procreate, or you are so deep in the Apple ecosystem that leaving isn't an option, the iPad Air is still a fantastic, powerful tablet for those specific things. But for literally everyone else, the student, the professional, the person who loves movies, the multitasker, the Samsung Galaxy Tab S10 Plus is the better tablet. It's the true do-it-all device. Conclusion in CTA. So that's my take on the ultimate tablet war of 2025. It seems like raw power isn't enough to win anymore. This time, versatility and smarter software took the crown. But what do you think? Which one would you go for? Let me know down in the comments. I really do read all of them. And if you want to see more tech showdowns, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next one. Smash the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more tech challenges, future experiments, and real talk from Tech Wave 65. Thanks for watching.